Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
No, we're having a little dispute already this morning.
Oh, man.
He was like half a second late. We'll never get that back. And then he's trying to tell us that he was right on the money. No. No, you weren't, my friend. No, you were not.
And don't start blaming the computer.
Yeah, don't even start. You got nothing to say for yourself?
No.
Being a half second late? Half second?
I'm sorry, it won't happen again.
Okay.
Oh, that's a lie.
I think we've heard that before. Wow, the Democrats are in panic mode. They've gone into overdrive, concocting story after story about Donald Trump. It shows how desperate they are. But they're using every lie that they've drudged up in the past and creating new ones at incredible speed right now. He's a fascist. He's a dictator. He's exactly like Hitler. He'll send Democrats to concentration camps. He'll end democracy. He hates our troops. He disparages those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. He'll tear up the Constitution. He'll end elections forever. In fact, everything going on right now that you don't like, and every future nightmare you could possibly dream up, he did it or will do it. So you better vote for Kamala Harris. It's absolutely astounding.
It's something to behold.
It's unbelievable. It used to be inappropriate to call people Hitler.
I was just about to say, in an election season that has pulled out things we've never seen before, it just keeps
the hits keep coming.
Yes. Yeah,
they keep coming. In an hour, we'll get the very latest on the polls and how they look between Trump and Harris when Stu joins us in studio. Studio will be here about an hour. You know, nice he keeps a close eye on that stuff.
Nice job, Phil.
Yeah, thank you. Let's walk through yesterday, though, at the Biden-Harris residences in Washington, D.C. Jeez. I mean, this is something else. Their desperation, though, is showing. So if there's one thing all of this should tell you, it's that they understand the fact that Trump has all the momentum right now. And he's the one who can explain his policies because he has some. And he's the one with the good track record because you know you were more prosperous 4 years ago than you are now. I mean, even during the pandemic, I think people were better off in many ways because the prices hadn't skyrocketed yet. So if you didn't lose your job during the pandemic, you were probably doing better than you are right now. Might have been not a lot of places to go for a while, but
saving money on gas.
Yeah, jeez. But first up, KJP was asked if Donald Trump is a fascist.
Is the president aware of John Kelly's assertion that Donald Trump meets the definition of a fascist and that Trump wanted the kinds of generals Hitler had?
I mean, look. You have heard from this president over and over again about the threats to democracy. And the president has spoken about that.
Right.
You've heard from the former president himself saying that he is going to be a dictator on day one.
Oh, stop it.
Him, not us. This is him. And
no, it's
not
you.
It's not just
it's
us,
you
the White
perpetuating
House
a lie.
You've heard it from officials, former officials that worked for the former president say this as well. So, do we agree? I know that the vice president just spoke about this. Do we agree about that determination? Yes, we do.
Oh, okay, good.
Let's not forget, I will point you to January 6th.
These people are insane.
What we saw on January 6th, 2,000 people were told to go to the Capitol to undo a free and fair election by the former president.
No.
It was a dark,
told them
dark
to be
day
peaceful.
in our democracy. And a dangerous one. We have people who died because of what happened on January 6th.
Well, yeah,
And,
2 people in the crowd.
we cannot forget that. We cannot forget that.
Oh, I can't take it.
And
Stop
so,
her madness. This is just...
Oh, this is going to be a long day, bro.
So despicable. Such liars and hypocrites. Are you kidding me? The entire summer of 2020, for about 6 months, in fact, it went beyond summer. They encouraged violence. They fomented violence and encouraged it and then bailed people out of jail who were violent.
Yeah, Kamala Harris specifically pushing for that bail for those people.
And then Trump tells people to peacefully go down and demonstrate. Do what you are free to do as an American. Let them know that you don't think the process was great. Whatever. But he told them to do it peacefully. He did not incite any sort of rioting or insurrection, certainly. But man, do they beat the drum of January 6th.
Yeah, and then yesterday,
that's all they've got.
We have a Texas couple who was praying at the police line, and they're sentenced to years in prison yesterday.
Yeah, she slapped away a police officer's hand
because he was
choking her.
By her scarf.
Yeah.
But don't react in a natural way to save your life.
So she's going to serve 20 months in prison for that. Her husband gets 30 months in prison because he was trying to defend her. What husband wouldn't when she's being attacked by police for no reason?
Yeah, and it's reported that, if the police hadn't picked up the bike rack barricades and pushed them into the protesters, then they wouldn't have made contact with the officers. This is the case by the couple.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we ended up on that side of the police line because of that.
Wow, please let this end on November 5th, please.
I know.
Please. I can't stand this KJP stuff any longer. I really can't. 12 days now. We got 12 more days of it, and then we're going to have to deal with it after he wins for a little while. But at least at that point, you'll know, okay, we see the end. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But she was asked about Biden saying lock him up. Sure, that was appropriate.
When he said last night about Donald Trump, we got to lock him up.
So look, the president spoke about this very clearly as well in his statement, and he said he meant lock him out politically.
No, he never said
lock him out.
That's not what he said.
That's what he said, and
no, that is not what he said.
Part of his quote that he said last night.
Can you pause this? Because I looked for the long version, like a longer version than what we played yesterday, where he clearly said, Joe Biden said,
lock him
up, and then he said, we got to lock him up politically. I looked for a longer version. Maybe after that he said lock him out. Now, it may exist, but dear Lord, I spent plenty of time looking for it.
It doesn't exist, Keith. You're wasting your time.
These people suck.
Oh, they're such lying sacks.
This is an I'm not here right here.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. They're telling you what you actually heard, not what you really did hear. No, here's what you heard. It's stunning. Kamala Harris was also asked about Biden's lock him up comment.
That's for the only reaction to what the president said about locking him up.
And off she went.
So they didn't say anything.
No. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. But what she said before that is the story today.
I don't understand how we got so toxic and just so divided and so bitter.
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally. One that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, my gosh.
In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I know. Wow, they've really ratcheted this thing up. I mean, it's...
They are setting... The man has... They've already tried to kill him twice.
Yeah, right.
They've tried to lock him up.
Yes, multiple times, not just twice. Yeah.
And it is not a stretch to think that all they're trying to do now is foment more violence against the man.
Yeah, they are.
That's all they have left.
We got to lock him up.
Yep, they are. Oh, gosh. Then she warned again on Trump, cut 5.
And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within.
Okay.
Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify in his mind as the enemy within. Like
Wow.
judges.
That's some good mind
like
reading.
journalists. Like nonpartisan election
Kreskin now?
officials.
Listen to
It is
this.
deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
No,
for you
what's
to say.
incredibly dangerous is all the babbling spilling out of your stupid cake hole. That's what's incredibly dangerous. Oh my gosh. Now she's reading his mind, and they're just making things up. Wow.
You got to use cake hole more often, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. She also, she kept warning about Trump.
Yep.
Cut 6.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable.
Okay.
And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not
they're
be
desperate.
there to be the
Thank heaven.
guardrails against his propensities and his actions.
Thank heaven John Kelly
Those who
won't be
once
there.
tried
What
to
a
stop
lying
him
piece
from
of garbage he
pursuing
is.
his worst impulses would no
Okay,
longer be
right.
there
Uh-huh.
and no longer be there to rein him in.
Wow.
So the bottom line is this.
Oh, tell us, please.
We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. Wow. So everything John Kelly says is just gospel. They can take that directly to the bank and deposit it and start using it, selling it to the American people. Just because he said it, we're supposed to believe all this garbage. How is this acceptable? I've never seen anything like it. I don't think we've had anything like it since the election cycle of 1800, when you had Thomas Jefferson and John Adams going at each other, talking about rape and blood in the streets and all that stuff, calling Adams a hermaphrodite and Thomas Jefferson a rapist. We're about there.
Yeah, we thought we didn't get those days back.
No, but we did. We did. We got him back. So congratulations, Democrats. You've done it again. You did it back then. You've done it since, and you're doing it now. Wow. Speaking of an unhinged, here's a look at Kamala, unhinged.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable.
Right.
Seal of the President of the United States.
The seal of the President of the United States. He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
Mommy, you know, the thing about this...
You're prettier than you're on television. Mike, look at her. No.
This is an individual who wants to be president of the United States, and I think the American people deserve better than someone who actually seems to be unstable.
That's good stuff, to use her own words against her like that. I love that. I love that. That'll help me get through the day.
I don't want to have to hear another clip of that
Oh, I know. It's got to end.
hyena
It's got
after November 5th.
end. Whew.
No. I mean, we are, you know what, America? We are all the Ben Affleck smoking behind the building at this point, listening to her. Can you imagine 4 years of that? 8? Oh, my.
No.
Well, we don't have to. Pat is leaving the country. So.
I would definitely, I don't know if Jackie would, but I'm considering it if she wins. Because
where's that? Where are you
I
going?
Can't handle it. I don't know. What?
That's the thing.
Puerto Rico. Come on, guys.
Puerto Rico.
We'll go to Puerto Rico.
That's too close to the United States. It's a territory of it.
Yeah, you get all the benefits without caring what happens in the federal government. It's a wild, wild west.
True. Huh. I don't know. I've been thinking Australia.
Oh, whoa. No.
New
Have you
Zealand.
seen? Hold on. Must I remind you of COVID and the actual camps
I know,
that they
it was
put
bad.
people in?
It was bad. Switzerland?
You know what? Let's table this discussion for November 6th.
Okay.
And maybe we don't have to have it.
I hope.
Please.
Man.
Please.
Wow. I mean, The Republic of Texas?
That's funny.
Maybe we don't move. Maybe we just withdraw the state from the union.
Okay. I mean, I've said let's shake hands and move on with our lives because you can't coexist with people that are talking like this. And,
you can't.
I mean, it's
impossible now. I think
I
don't know how you come back together with these people.
It's not only the fact that they talk this way, but it's the gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the same breath, they talk about the violence on the right. What the hell are you talking about? It's absolute madness. You can't share a country with these people. You can't. You can't.
I mean, I'd be in favor of secession if they win. Or I think I would. And I'll bet you most Texans probably already are.
Oh, yeah.
But if she wins another term, you know they would be at that point.
Oh, my gosh. Now just imagine your scenario and how the left reacts to Trump winning.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I know.
Wake me
Scary.
up on January 21st.
Scary. All right, let me tell you about Birch Gold. You know, as we talk about every day, and certainly the first 16 minutes of this show, there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election. But regardless of who's in the White House, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. Even 4 years of a conservative presidency won't be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. So I know you don't have too much control over the election's outcome. You can just do what you do, and that's vote. But what you can do right now is protect your savings by diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. It's why gold goes up in times like this. That's why it is where it is right now. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife. And it can protect you right now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. It's tax-free and penalty-free, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket either. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the dollar has really plummeted. The price of gold has increased 40%. Is that a coincidence? Yeah, I don't think so. Text the word PAT to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold. Go through it, see if it's right for you, and then trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Text PAT to the number 989898.
Pat Gray Unleashed now continues.
By the way, gold is actually approaching $3,000 an ounce, which has never happened. It's at $2,700 right now, I believe. It's a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a stable country we live in.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the graphic just go up there. We got the climate engineering show tomorrow, Chris. Is that right?
Yes, we do.
All right. How many guests we got?
2.
Wow.
Okay, we didn't get Kaku, huh?
We did not get Kaku.
But that's right out of the gate. We start that tomorrow?
We start right out the gate.
All right. And that means I'm not going to listen to Kamala tomorrow. Correct? Correct. We're going to talk about the Free Think Friday.
Yeah, we think so.
We think so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless she does something buck wild, then we'll mix it in.
I don't want to think.
Which is probable, actually. It's probable. She was buck wild yesterday.
Oh.
The whole bunch of them were. She was. Obama, Biden this week. They've all been completely out of control. Dougie. Yeah. What's his face? Tampon Tim. All of them.
I think they're slowing him down. There's not that much clips coming out of Timmy
so
Tom.
Bad. He's just so bad. I think they're embarrassed by him.
I think so, too.
And I think she really rused the day she made that choice. I don't know where that came from or why
Barack
you chose
Obama.
him.
I believe it's called a Tim Walz hand grenade tossed into her campaign that he never gave his blessing to. So he was going to show that he's still in control and we're going to destroy you and we're going to raise money off of Trump for 4 years and then I'm going to pick the nominee for this party. That's Obama's thinking.
She's the astronaut.
Yeah. They don't have anybody, though. I mean, who's on the bench? Again, it's Gavin Newsom, right? That's about it. Hillary, by the next time around, it's going to be 83.
Come on.
Oh, yes. Come on.
84.
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Big Mike is that's the only hope they have, and she's not interested.
They should have pulled the trigger for Big Mike.
Yeah.
That shows you who wears the pants in that family.
Well, they both do. And Kamala continued to sound desperate as she met with campaign volunteers.
Sad.
And then
that we are going to, as we all say, turn the page on an era that was about trying to have people point fingers at each other,
the page on you.
trying to suggest that there are these issues that divide us when the most fundamental important issues we care about. Unify us. And so you all are putting that into action every moment.
Yeah, they've been really unifying, haven't they? Yeah. Calling him Hitler.
Yeah, that really brings us together.
Yeah, there's nothing more unifying than that. Saying that he will end democracy and put people in concentration camps. I can't think of a more unifying way to run a campaign. All right, Claire, continue.
In every moment of each day, you've been doing this work. We have 13 days to go. And I am so deeply thankful to you. You are having an impact on, for the most part, people that you may never end up meeting, because your work here will impact people around the country. Understand that.
Okay. Yeah. I do understand that.
All right. And then I think what happened is she goes, all right, the camera's off. Okay, so how are we doing on the fake ballots?
Right.
The second gentleman was on the road for her too, which is always exciting when you can see Doug Emhoff.
Remind me, he's the face of masculinity now?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's right.
True masculinity.
Just remember that as you watch this clip.
Okay.
30 years, so I didn't have to explain to her like what I do for a living. And for 6 or 7 of those years, I had my own small firm. So I understand, and I've talked to her, and I've met entrepreneurs all over the country.
Wait, you talked to your wife?
Getting to travel around, and the last 13 weeks of this campaign, I know what those sleepless nights are like. I know what it's like to, track the money coming in and the money coming out, and caring about your clients, caring about your employees, and how are we going to make it through this next month. I get that. She certainly understands that, coming with her middle-class background that she's talked a lot about, with her single mother just trying to raise her and her sister. Like, she understands.
Jeez.
And that's why this economic plan works for all of us.
Have you ever seen her middle class home that she has in Northern California? I don't know that I've ever seen it. I'd love to. I want to see what that looks like.
Okay, I'll look for it.
I want to see their middle class home from these middle class people. Of course, she grew up middle class. That doesn't necessarily mean she's still middle class.
I don't know,
but I'd love to see what middle class home they live in.
Turn the sound down in there for a moment, Chris. And Joe, can you play that clip again and just tell me if Mark Cuban, go ahead and play it.
Oh, you mean Rachel Maddow?
Rachel Maddow, Mark Cuban. Is he awake?
No, he's falling asleep, bro.
Okay. So, no, we lost him.
We lost him.
He's like...
Does look like he fell fast asleep, doesn't it? What a group they are. What a group. They're fantastic.
And his transformation into the Rachel Maddow is brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Who called him that originally?
The Trump campaign.
Really?
Yeah, it was on all the tweets.
That's a good call.
Rachel Maddow.
That's a really good call. And, here's something kind of interesting, too, as we're discussing policies that she tries to keep quiet. Yesterday, she actually admitted something fairly astounding to me in the middle of all this border stuff. She is for amnesty again.
Oh, we got the clip.
And she was for it, then she was against it. Now she's for it again, I think. Have I got that right? All right, here it is.
Okay.
Right now, we're talking about border security, and there's no Democrat talking about pathway to citizenship, immigration relief.
She's talking about it.
I am talking about it.
Benefits that migrants bring to this country.
Yeah. Don't worry about it, man.
There's no question that
there's no question.
Migrants. America is a country that was built in part by immigrants.
Right? Yes.
CTS third DACA there. We're talking about mass deportations.
Oh, she's not.
I'm not talking about.
No.
What do you stand on mass deportations? What's your stand there?
We need
to pander to you.
Smart,
humane
immigration policy in America that includes a pathway to citizenship.
There it is. There it is. For the 1 millionth time, legal immigrants helped build this country. Not illegals. People who came to this nation the right way through Ellis Island, and they respected our laws and our culture and our language. They were people who most often, like my grandmother, wouldn't even allow their kids to speak their native tongue in their home when they were here because they wanted them to adapt to this country, to meld into the fabric of this country. They wanted to be a part of it. They weren't trying to bring their old country here. They were helping to make this new one better. And they knew that in order to do that, they had to learn our language. They could add to our culture, but they were a part of our culture. They weren't trying to create separate ones. It was a melting pot, not a stew. And that's what we have now, is people coming here doing their own thing and not even bothering to learn the language. Don't tell me that immigrants built this country when you don't even understand it. They were legally here, and they wanted... This was a different mindset with those people who did help build this nation. They loved this country and wanted to be a part of it and weren't embarrassed by it. And they were coming here to kill people and cause problems and bring disease. They were here to add to the richness of America, and they did. But Democrats don't understand that concept at all.
I know we talked about this off air, but Kamala's not looking good. If you see that latest interview that she did, she lost some weight.
Yeah, her face is looking gaunt.
The face is like soaked in.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sad. That's really sad because, like, girl, take a break.
They said they're exhausted.
They are.
You know, and Trump has been going a million miles an hour. He's not complaining about being exhausted. But they can't handle it.
I think Trump has not taken any days off until like Tuesday. I saw on his calendar.
This coming Tuesday, he's going to be off? Well, he was on the campaign trail yesterday where he explained what's at stake on November 5th.
I have said these lawsuits are being run by the Department of Justice, the FBI. Biden is behind it all, believe it or not. And he proved that yesterday with his stupid statement. And people are outraged by it, and we're running against something far bigger, far more powerful than them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is a massive, vicious, crooked, radical left machine that runs today's Democrat Party. It's far bigger than them.
Mm-hmm.
This is who we're fighting, and we're fighting them hard. These are the people who are doing such harm to our country with their open borders and record-setting inflation and the Green New scam.
Yes.
They're trying to destroy our country. But we're not going to let it happen any longer. We are going to have the biggest victory in the history of our country on November 5th.
Oh, okay. I'm all about that. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest victory in the history of our country? I hope he's got internal polling that shows that that's on the way. That would be comforting. Because it's going to have to be that kind of sizable win in order to avoid some of what's coming, no matter who wins.
Yeah.
But especially if he wins, the left has shown us a million times how violent they are and how little they care about other people's property and other people's lives. They don't care. That's why they're so into abortion. They don't have any respect for human life. So when they get violent, they don't care what happens. Burn it all down. Kill a bunch of people. Whatever.
Just remember,
you got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Just remember, and check my math, it's 76 days between the election and the oath of office.
Yeah,
that's a lot of time to do some damage if you hate this country, which the Democrat Party and this administration clearly do.
Yeah, and I don't think the rank and file Democrats across the nation hate this country. They love it. But their leadership is leading them down a primrose path, and I just hope they see it. I hope normal Americans can see it.
I hope that Democrats watched that incredible display last night on the CNN town hall. With Kamala
we got
Harris.
that coming up. If you missed it last night, you don't want to miss it coming up here. It's incredible. She was so bad. So bad. And even the leftist pundits admitted she was bad. We'll get into that coming up.
Ukraine is a country in Europe.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Is it just me, or is this one of the worst rhetoric days we've encountered? Maybe ever.
Pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's shameful, honestly.
Oh, my gosh.
These are elected
despicable
officials saying this stuff.
Especially about a man that people have tried to kill twice already. Maybe 3 times. But there's Iranian assassin teams that are lurking. That we've broken up some of that. Who knows if we got everybody? I don't know. And the more they keep hammering this, he's going to destroy democracy and he's Adolf Hitler, the more unstable people you're going to set off. Isn't that what they tell us all the time? Jeez.
And I thought he was already president. That's the one thing
we do have some evidence.
We do have him as president.
Of the kind of power he wants to wield, because he was already president at one time. We're supposed to ignore that, I guess, and just realize that this one would be so much worse.
These people are such a danger to this country.
Oh, my gosh. I got some tweets here. Unrepentant thought criminal. The last page in the Democrats' playbook reads, when all else fails, just shout, he's Hitler, at the top of your lungs. And they're going by that right now. That's exactly where they are. Where's my pudding? Walz did use force against his American residents during the pandemic. Those simply sitting on their porches.
That's right.
Yeah, they couldn't even go outside.
They're in the house.
Jeez. Eyebrows McGee. That absolute crap Kamala is spewing is exactly why my workplace is so hostile. These women I work with believe everything she says. Kamala's made me the enemy to my coworkers.
Oh, boy.
Well, that sucks. Yeah, that's not good. Timmy Tammypon, equestrian extraordinaire. Democrats are nothing but projection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so everything they're saying about him, they're projecting from themselves.
Every time.
Fury and energy. There's only one way a national divorce happens. The right would accept a peaceful separation. The left absolutely will not. They demand to rule over us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Caffeinated Texan, we pay KJP to lie. We pay her. Yeah, we do. We pay her to lie and gaslight. Isn't that great? Yeah, and we pay her a lot, too. $175,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And all the clothing she can wear.
I was just wondering that.
Clothing.
I'll bet that doubles her salary because she wears the most expensive stuff and never...
Are we paying for that?
Same.
Never the same.
Never the same.
Who pays for that?
Now,
honestly?
some people are saying...
Oh, we do.
Because I was talking to Hillary, how can someone like her afford all that stuff? Mm-hmm. There's like rent the runway.
Yeah.
Where you could get new pieces, but it's still expensive.
Yeah. And I'll bet she doesn't have to bother with that. No. I'll bet we pay for it.
I bet too.
I'd love to know. But they're never going to tell us. So, as if Kamala didn't look bad enough early in the day, last night came the CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper. And the left is all pissed off at Anderson Cooper because he was actually fairly decent in this exchange with her. She was asked about the border wall. Here's what she had to say.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
No, let's talk about you and what you said
Donald
about
Trump
it.
said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op,
but what do you think of it?
In the part of the wall that President...
It's because of opposition from people like her that he wasn't able to accomplish that. And yeah, I knew Mexico was never going to pay for it. I mean, everybody knew that, right? Did anybody think, okay, Mexico's going to pay for this? But I didn't care if Mexico paid for somebody. That's something I'm willing to pay for. I want my tax-paying dollars to go to protecting the nation from an onslaught, an invasion of people who won't come here the right way. But what do you think of it, Kamala? I bet she's getting to that, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to
nothing to
further
do with the wall.
Strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill.
Which means
that
amnesty.
deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it.
There is.
People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes.
Answer the question,
this thing.
you buffoon.
Let's just fix it.
He's trying. He's not giving.
Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
My gosh.
I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
She won't
I want to strengthen our border.
Yep. See, she will not. It doesn't matter what you ask her or how many times you try to pin her down. She won't answer the question. She goes down her talking points over and over and over. Trump, 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 Trump. That's all she'll ever say. Is that going to be adequate for half of America? Sure hope not.
Boy, Anderson did his best.
He did a great job there.
He did a good job.
Wow. I mean, that was what, 5 times he tried to pin her down? That's amazing. Good for him.
Jeez.
Okay, so it's not a stupid idea anymore. I think what Donald Trump did was stupid. I think he's stupid. I think you're stupid for asking me.
So you're good with the wall?
Well, I'm good with a comprehensive plan to fix the problems we have, and Donald Trump exacerbated
well, you
them,
supported this
and
compromise
you're making
bill
it worse because you keep asking me
$650 million for the wall the way Donald Trump did.
Don't want to answer.
So you're good with it now.
And so I'm just going to continue to filibuster. It doesn't matter how many times you ask me. I want to be unburdened by your questions. And focus on the future.
My word.
It's pretty bad.
She sucks.
It's pretty bad. And here's the exchange on the economy.
I bring a whole set of different experiences to this job and the way I think about it than Joe Biden.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Thank you.
Well, there
Pause
was a
it
lot
for a sec. More and more people are asking her that question. More and more, even these leftists are starting to say, hey, okay, if you're so brilliant and you've got such great plans, why haven't you already done this? Why are we in the situation we're in right now? Why?
Yeah. She wants us to trust her as a leader around the globe, a worldwide international leader that sits down and gets her way with Vladimir Putin and all of the dictators of the world. You apparently haven't been able to be a leader within the White House that you're the vice president in.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
That's right. That's right. So here's her answer.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
You're not going to shy away from that. Now, you're not going to take any responsibility for that.
She's so bad.
But she won't shy away from telling you that, yeah, more needs to be done. She has to admit that part of it because people are hurting right now. And they're telling her they're hurting. She's hearing that everywhere, and she's seen it in every single poll. People know prices are out of control. They don't make enough money. They're not in a good place economically.
What was that she said? Like, do we have that queued up? There's a lot that needs to be done. We did a lot.
No, yeah, do that part because that's another one of those word
salads. But there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems.
Go back and do that again. That's fun. We need that isolated.
We got to get that
section.
isolated.
There's something you can point to in your life.
Oh, play that queued up part again.
So good.
Need to be done, and so on and so forth.
Pointing out things that need to be done that haven't been done, but need to be done.
Need to be done.
And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
You're a problem.
Jeez.
I want you out of my life.
Holy cow. That's amazing. And any mistakes? What? Did you make a mistake over time, over the past 4 years, or are you a perfect human being and you've never made a mistake?
This is a doozy.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes.
All right, one. Give us one.
And they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues. And I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
What like you just demonstrated. Is that what you mean?
That?
Unbelievable.
I mean, this is like,
wow.
She is like, if you were writing a fake, just a character.
Yeah.
And I know everyone refers to the show Veep that I've never seen 1 second of with Julia Louis-Dreyfus or whatever. But I guess that's where we're at. I don't know.
That's how she is?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
It, and it's literally Veep in real life.
Just, I mean, an empty brain,
empty brain. Right? Whatever she sees, she talks, and then she ignores. She's it's fascinating.
Did you watch the whole series?
I watched the whole series from beginning to end.
Is that what we're living right now?
We are living exact. The only thing is, as you know, that came through, which the president hates the vice president, so she's not allowed in the White House. So they keep her to the vice president. And,
I think
and
that's
she
where
tries
we're
to
at,
talk to the president. He's busy. Just stay in this area. And she's not allowed, and she curses, which I believe she does that today too.
Oh yeah.
I
great.
cannot believe that a nation with a history as storied as ours, founded the way it was, is now dealing with this. Is this
incredible?
Is this reality?
Incredible. This year's presidential election is about so much more than just politics. It's about securing our borders, protecting our communities, and ensuring that when disasters strike, we have a government that actually shows up for its people. So first and foremost, on Election Day, vote, but also on Election Night. You're going to want to be a member of the Blaze TV so you can watch many of your favorite Blaze TV hosts as they cover the 2024 presidential election. We're at a crossroads, and the future of our nation is being decided in real time. So this is your chance to be a part of something amazing. This election night, Blaze TV is going to have boots on the ground across the country with our correspondents delivering the pulse of the night straight from where the action is happening. All you have to do is subscribe, and you can experience this pivotal night with us. At Blaze TV, we speak the truth. No spin, no filters, just real talk breaking down what's happening in real time. So we'd like to have you with us for that. Just go to blazeelection.com/Pat. blazeelection.com/Pat. You'll get $40 off your subscription. That's blazeelection.com/Pat to get $40 off.
Pat Gray, Unleashed.
Wow, was she good at the town hall last night? Woof! Don't you want this person as your president? Powerful answers, incredible plans, so well-spoken and clearly intelligent. So after the town hall, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash had this to say about what she did.
Focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do.
Right.
If her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that.
She did not do that. She did not close any deal.
Close the deal.
Wow. Because she can't. She's got no explanation for any of these issues and these problems that we face. All she has is, well, Donald Trump. She's just trying to fearmonger based on people's hatred for Donald Trump. That's not going to. I hope it's not going to work. This was David Axelrod's assessment.
The things that would concern me is when she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
Right.
And so, on certain questions like that, on immigration, I thought she missed an opportunity because she would acknowledge no concerns about any of the administration's policies. And that's a mistake. Sometimes you have to concede things, and she didn't concede much. But I'll tell you something.
Pause it for a sec. That is
John
rich
King
coming from David Axelrod. During the Obama administration, they conceded nothing. They never admitted to any mistakes in Obama's administration. I mean, he's right. You should. But they never did, and neither is she. All right, let him finish.
And she didn't concede much. But I'll tell you something. John King mentioned Bill Clinton. No one's going to be Bill Clinton, but you do want to relate to the people in front of you. She didn't do a lot of that. She didn't ask them questions. She didn't address them particularly. So she was giving set pieces too much.
Her talking points, that's all she has. And she will not deviate from them. No matter how rough it gets, no matter how many times she's asked, she will not answer the question because the American people won't like her answer. And she will not be elected. She's trying to hide all of her viewpoints. It's really something to watch.
And this is a
really
compressed timeline of a 3-month candidacy.
Yeah.
She would have never, as clearly demonstrated, couldn't win one primary.
Right. And she didn't. She
Right.
couldn't even make it to the primaries in 2020.
Right. So
she's not liked.
Congratulations, Democrats.
Jeez.
She stole the nomination.
Yeah.
Away from a guy who stole the presidency. But I digress. This woman could not have become a nominee under any circumstance, a normal circumstance.
Nope.
Right?
It had to be a coup.
Right.
And it was. That's the only way she could be their nominee, and here we are. And then
know for breakfast.
And they have to pretend like they love her, and they've always loved her.
Right.
Staggering.
I want her. Please
just out of our lives.
Out
Just
of our
out
lives
of our lives
forever.
Please, by all that is good, right, and holy. More Pat Gray Unleashed coming
I
up.
can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Pat Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
I don't know about you this morning, but I'm struggling to find a little hope because, wow, it's been a rough start to the morning already with the Hitler talk, the end of democracy stuff. This is the stuff that the left can get away with now. It's staggering.
Sure is.
But Stu Burguiere joins us to hopefully give us a little hope.
Yeah.
Maybe some happiness.
And if not, we're going to ask you to leave.
Yeah, right.
So,
if we don't like your information, we'll be cutting you short.
Very sad situation if you're bringing me in here for hope. That's not normally what I'm utilized for.
Because you're a little black rain cloud.
I've heard that
as a rule.
many times.
So you've got a little handout this morning.
Oh, yes.
Visual aid.
A little visual aid.
Yes.
From Pulsecast. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so
what are we looking at here?
So basically, at the beginning of all of this election stuff, I realized that I was looking at a bunch of polls and a bunch of polling averages and prediction markets and election models from all these election nerds. And you see it all the time. And like they all kind of tell different stories with the same data. They all get the same information. But they all sort of make decisions on their own. Like they're going to include this poll and not this one. And they're going to weight certain things this way and in other ways. And they're going to include the fundamentals of the race and all these different decisions that these guys make.
Yeah.
And I thought,
So,
I'm looking at.
In other words, there's a lot of ways you can skew a poll.
Totally. Like, like the polling averages, like everyone's kind of familiar with those, right? You have something like, the New York Times, which takes a bunch of different polls and they put them into their polling average. And then they have different, like, sort of secret sauce adjustments they make behind the scenes. They'll say, This pollster's better than this pollster. This pollster has better...
So they weight it more?
So they weight it more. And then they'll take another one that's kind of Republican-leaning pollster, and they'll give that a little bit less weight, or a Democratic-leaning pollster, and they'll put a little bit less weight. The nonpartisan ones are the ones they favor. They make that decision.
So the New York Times doesn't do their own polling?
They do have their own polling as well.
Oh, okay.
Right? Then, like Real Clear Politics, so you guys know that. They are famous for sort of just doing a straight average. Right? They'll just take the polls and average. But they also make decisions on which polls they include and which ones they don't. They only really include high-quality pollsters that they believe. So everybody makes a decision. And then those people took all that information and then they make a polling average. And then a bunch of other election nerds came along and they said, well, what if we take all those polling averages and we put all of our special sauce in? So what you wind up is a lot of people with a lot of different decisions. And my thought was, I'm looking at these all the time. Sometimes I would see them as 15 and 20 points apart as to who was going to win. So I thought, what is the actual, can we put our finger on the pulse of all of this information and give you a sense as to where everybody stands as one number, so you kind of can understand all of it without having to click to 25 websites like I have to do every day. So we came up with the Pulsecast. Pulsecast, which is basically what candidate has it, what percentage chance do they have to win? Both candidates, Trump and Harris. And kind of follow us through the entire election cycle.
So this is your aggregate of the average for all the stuff that we see.
So it's the average of the average of the average of the average.
So what kind of special sauce do you add to it?
I delete polls I don't like if they're good for Harris. I delete them.
Good. All right.
And,
you're welcome to stay.
No, you don't add any kind of
not at all. This is not
Stewisms.
me. This is not a. I mean, look, it's the same. There's probably some polling averages that I don't put in there, but I put a lot in there. I mean, there's more data in this thing than literally any election measure you're ever going to look at.
No, I like that.
So this is the Pulsecast, and if you kind of look at the narrative of the election, you kind of start with Trump coming off of the Biden situation where he has a massive lead.
Yeah.
And ours begins
According
in August.
to yours, it was 55-45.
It was bigger than that. This is August 1st. So this is a little bit right after, we started it right after Kamala became the nominee, because there wasn't any polls really that were reliable of Kamala being the nominee right away. I think, I want to say it was like January 22nd, 23rd was about the time she got that,
July,
locked it. Excuse me, not January, July.
July.
So she kind of locked it in.
Okay.
So this is sort of the fade of fade of the Biden situation.
Right.
Kamala rises up. She has that initial boomlet there.
And it was significant.
Yeah,
she's up by 10 points almost.
She got up to about 55% there. You see the convention. If you kind of look at those little vertical lines, they are important dates of the campaign. So you got the convention there.
All right.
And she kind of is up there around 55. That boomlet starts to drop. And it's interesting because Trump takes the lead back by the slightest of margins, literally for one day, and that is the day before the debate with Kamala Harris. After that debate, you see Kamala Harris gets another nice little boom out of this, and she actually rises up to about 58% there in between.
So she's up by double digits here.
Yeah, now remember, this is a chance of victory.
Okay.
So I would, if you wanted to kind of sort of summarize this entire chart, you could say it's pretty much a toss-up. This is not saying that Kamala Harris is going to win the popular vote by 16 points. It's just a percentage chance of victory. So you see she kind of opens up that lead, and this is late September. And then it starts to tighten. I like to point out that it seems to tighten right at the vice presidential debate. And mainly I like to point that out because I freaking hate Tim Walz. I really hate him.
Me too.
I don't know what it is about him.
Oh, yeah. He's a weirdo.
Yeah.
He's weird, and he's effeminate, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being effeminate. It's just a cherry on top.
While at the same time calling out.
But he's a lying sack of crap.
Right, I hate that most.
He lies about everything he's ever said or done, and I hate it.
It drives me crazy. His mannerisms drive me crazy.
He acts like he's the normal one, and everything around him is so weird. The Trump and the J.D. Vance, and they just took that from him because it applies to him, and they just projected it to the other side.
Yeah, 100%. They do this all the time, right?
Yeah.
And what was interesting, I was thinking about this the other day, that if Kamala Harris is to lose this election, which of course I really hope she does, but if she does, I think they will look back at that Tim Walz pick as one of the most perplexing decisions in the history of politics.
It was an Obama Walz hand grenade tossed into the Kamala campaign.
It's so weird. Like what? Like, and I honestly think one of the top reasons. There's a bunch of reasons. A liar is a good one. Socialist is a good one. A guy who's all of his weird COVID restrictions and all of the stuff he did around the George Floyd riots. All that would be in there. But I think near the top of the list is just look at him.
I know, that's true.
Like, you picked him?
I know.
Like, he looks like the dopey dad on a terrible sitcom, right? Like, you're just like, oh, God, the stupid dad that's screwing up his daughter's life over and over again. There he is.
Yep.
It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So that's separate from, that is not in the data, by the way. That observation's not in the data. Although you do notice the vice presidential debate does seem to be a bit of a turning point in this chart.
Yeah, it does.
Trump, since that debate, basically has been rising and rising and rising. About 3 or 4 days ago, it finally passed, right about the day of that Brett Baer interview. He wound up getting past 50%. And you see rising even more now. This is the high he's been since the Joe Biden era, basically, 53.06% chance to win. Now, that looks really good. And the momentum's on his side. You would definitely, I think, rather be Donald Trump than Kamala Harris right now.
I feel a butt coming on. So do we have a commercial break coming up right now? I need to bail. Go ahead.
But all of this, the whole chart is a toss-up. Right? Like, yes, it's great to be ahead. You'd rather be ahead than behind in this measure. But, like, you can't look at this and say you're sure, you're certain, you're even confident that he would win based on this information. Now, look, this isn't my prediction. It's not your prediction. It's not the Blaze's prediction. It's mainstream experts. A lot of people don't like looking at polls. They don't like that sort of data. This is just what they're saying. But I find it interesting. It's not just us. It's not just our vibes. It's not just, hey, Kamala seems desperate. It's the data showing this right now. The data is coming his direction. And even more maybe than the Pulsecast, which, by the way, you can see the updates at glennbeck.com/Pulsecast every day if you want to follow along. Even more than the data, the massive change in strategy over the past couple of weeks, I think, is the most revealing thing about where Kamala Harris believes this campaign is. You know, she went. We used to do a count up every day on Stu Does America of how many days it had been since she had done a real interview. And she did, the last one she did was the night of the debate, literally the night of the debate with Anderson Cooper. She went on to do damage control to tell us that everybody that Joe Biden was actually fine. It was just a bad debate. I see him all the time. He's totally fine. He's great. That was her last debate. She went, I think, 80 days from that period to do another real interview. Not one she had an interview buddy like Tim Walz with her, not, RuPaul. I mean, an actual interview. 80 days. All of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, she's completely like, she's going down the highway 65 miles an hour, jams the car in reverse. And all of a sudden, she's like, holy crap, now I'm going to do every interview, all the interviews. I'm all over the place all the time. There's a reason for that.
It's digging her hole deeper and not helping her get down the road.
Yeah.
Fortunately, she's terrible.
She is. The first strategy was better. I mean, not doing anything was a much better idea.
You're right. She was on a roll then.
Yep. And
poll-wise,
I think it's very possible they look at internal data and say, look, we're not going to be able to hold this if we do nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's possible.
Yeah, it's probable. I think.
Honestly, it still would probably be a better situation, a better chance, because the more she talks, the more America can't stand her.
Right. And rightly so.
Yes.
Rightly so. I also take some solace in knowing that on this day, well, on yesterday's date, 8 years ago, polls showed Hillary up by 12. 12-point lead over Donald Trump.
Wow.
And he is so far beyond that right now. He's up in most polls. So if you compare it to how he did when he won in 2016 and how he's doing now against Kamala, it looks pretty good.
I became a broken record on this exact fact, Pat. Approximately, let me look at this chart again, late September, in which I reminded all of my friends that, hey, Donald Trump is at 42% chance to win. However, even when he was there, it was the best position he had been in any presidential run.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's now ahead at 53% chance to win is way better than he's ever had. I mean,
way better.
It's, the polls have missed and have underestimated Trump in both of his runs pretty significantly. And past performance is not indicative of future results, right? You can't necessarily say for sure that's going to happen again, but it has been the situation twice. It's notable, but twice is not a huge, sample.
Yeah.
There is an argument that this might not happen again, which is, in 2016, they underestimated Trump.
Right.
What they analyzed, pollsters analyzed after that, was basically like, we didn't wait for education factor. We didn't look at when you factor in education and you wait for education, the polls were a lot more accurate. And so they changed that in 2020. They ran it back in 2020, and they did wait for education. Their excuse that time, and there are some people who believe this is true, that it wasn't necessarily that Donald Trump was just underestimated. It was that Democrats, who actually were terrified of COVID, stayed home. And you think about the period you're polling people, Democrats were at home cowering in their homes and waiting for the phone to ring so they could talk to somebody. And Republicans are all out living their lives.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot harder to get Republicans on the phone in 2020 than it was for Democrats. So there's non-response bias that winds up favoring Democrats and underestimates Republicans. Now, in theory, that wouldn't be here this time, and so there is some worry. I'm not confident that a 6 or 7 point miss is what we're looking at here, but pollsters typically miss by 2 or 3 points every time. They're not, they're blunt instruments, not surgical ones. So when you look at that and you say, okay, well, maybe if they miss by 2 or 3 points, either way, either one of these candidates is going to win pretty comfortably.
Well, let me ask you this. One of the things that's kind of been bugging me is obviously they underestimated the count on Trump in 2016. I'm concerned now that people aren't hiding their support for Trump. Pollster calls me, I'm ready. I'm ready to go vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Whereas 8 years ago, maybe they're like, I haven't decided, and then that gets factored in. So I'm a little concerned about that aspect as well, if it's out there.
Yeah, we talked to Robert Kalehi, I think I always forget how to pronounce his name, but he's the Trafalgar, head of Trafalgar polling. They're famous for being kind of the first ones who really made this strong stand on the shy Trump voter, right? The person you'd call up and you'd say, hey, who are you voting for? And they would say, I don't know. And then they'd go like, I'm pressing Trump, right? And I asked him that exact question. I'm very much worried about that exact same thing because I don't know any Trump supporters who are shy about it anymore. Right. I knew tons of them in 2016. They were all like, oh, gosh, I don't really like him. Or I do like him, but I don't really want to tell anybody because everyone yells at me when I say it.
Everyone is all in.
I don't know anybody who's like that anymore. Right. Like, and I'm not saying there are none, but it does feel a lot more rare. In fact, it almost feels like now people are just incredibly proud of it and they want to shout it from the mountaintops. So, but that is actually pollsters, when they look at this, they don't necessarily find that to be the reason. It's more, when I mentioned before, non-response bias, what they're saying is that people who are Trump people are less likely to want to deal with pollsters at all.
Interesting.
They don't want to answer the phone. They don't want to participate in this. They're skeptical of institutions, I think, rightfully so in many cases. So they're not typically like as involved in these processes as Democrats. Democrats are, like, oh, I want to take a poll. I want to tell everybody. Republicans are like, screw you. I'm going to my kid's Little League game.
Right.
And so I think, that is a little bit of that aspect, and I think might make me a little bit less nervous about that, but I wouldn't say not at all nervous. That point I've been concerned about because I look at, I talk to my friends, people that I know, even people who are not Texas people who live in, in the Northeast, even they're talking my ear off right now about Donald Trump. Like, people want to talk about it. They want people to know, hey, I'm not with this insane communist. So
I'm telling you,
I'm
I
a little
was
worried.
in the New England states all throughout it just 2 weeks ago, and the signage was about 50-50 for Trump and Harris. They love their yard signs up there, and they were loud and proud for both sides. It was fascinating. I was not expecting that.
You think he wins the popular vote? It looks really good for him, I think, electorally. But does he win the popular vote, which I think is critical?
So
to avoid
craziness.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, remember 2016, of course, he lost the popular vote. Of course, 2000, Bush lost. I mean, the Democrats have had this way lately, and this is something that's sort of built into the Electoral College, which is the numbers can vary, but it's about 2 to 2.5 points. If Harris wins the popular vote by less than 2.5 points or so, there's a good chance that Donald Trump wins. And a big part of that reason is, Harris runs the total up in states like New York and California. Votes she doesn't really need. She's way ahead. She'll probably win those states by 15 or 20 points, and they're large states. She'll add millions of votes to her popular vote total that mean nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why she, typically speaking, I would still consider her the favorite in the popular vote slightly. However, there's reason to believe that Trump is certainly doing a lot better. I mean, he lost it was 4.5 points, I believe he lost last time, in 2016, right? It was, I have to remember off the top. One of them was 4.5 points. I think maybe the Biden one was even larger. I don't remember. They weren't super close when it comes to the popular vote. Now, you might be interested to hear that this is not how we actually determine elections. So it doesn't matter at all. It's just more of a Democrat complaint point.
Yes.
One thing to look for on this, though, which is interesting, is if you're looking at polls of New York or California, this is weird, but you actually want to root for a larger win for Democrats. And it seems odd, like you'd think like it's counterintuitive. But when you see those polls and like if you see Donald Trump up by 8 or only down by 8, be scared. Because if he's only up by 8, that means he's gaining votes he doesn't need. If a national poll is showing basically a tie and Donald Trump's close in New York and California, that's scary because that means he's taking away votes that he doesn't need and he's closing these margins in New York and California. But that's playing into the national vote, which means that these other states he does need is not where he's gaining the votes. He's doing better in New York than previous Republicans have, which is good. Obviously, you want more votes. But
he keeps claiming he's going to win New York.
Yeah, he's not going to win New York. That one we could call that right now. He's not. I'm calling Burguiere calls New York a little early.
One of the things, real quick, on your percentages, your popular vote thing. Hillary won the popular vote by 2.1%.
2.1, okay.
And then Biden won the popular vote by 4.5%.
4.5, that's what I was,
because it was like 10 million difference, supposedly.
7. Yeah. So the electoral vote is different now than it was in 2020 as far as each state's apportionment.
Yeah.
And so I did some Keith math, so you'll have to check this.
I love Keith math.
But no, you don't. No one should.
It's better than Jeffy math, I will say. Better than Jeffy math.
Yeah. Okay, Trump's +4, just based on the 2020 results. You see, based on, hey, now New York's worth less, Texas is worth more.
Okay, yeah.
So Trump is actually, he's got a 4-point head start as far as the electoral vote.
That's okay. That's good.
It's a good thing.
News. One of the things that I look at there's 7 swing states, that people basically know of. But when you kind of look at the big board, right, and you want to start with an opening score, it's basically 226 to 219. That's if you want to just throw everything out, right? Like we basically know. Now that doesn't mean. I mean, could Republicans lose Texas? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I doubt it. You could take Minnesota. Could Donald Trump win Minnesota? It's possible. I kind of doubt it, but it's possible. But if you take all that out and kind of just do leaners and everything else, it's 226, 219. Democrats with Harris with a lead, actually. You go down through leaner states, and that's where, of course, it gets, it winds up. You add on a bunch of electoral votes, but you go to those final states where you're talking about the toss-ups. You got North Carolina, you got Georgia, you got Arizona and Nevada, and then the blue wall states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Those are the 7. And I was looking at the polling averages the other day. 4 of them are less than 1 point in the polling average. I think it's the New York Times.
Wow.
The biggest quote-unquote blowout of these states is Trump by 2 in Arizona. So, I mean, that is, if you just look straight at these polls, there's a reason for optimism, as I showed you, with their stupid chart. But at the same time, this is a freaking close election.
Yeah.
Could go either way. Yep. Certainly worth being nervous about. Certainly worth making sure you get as many people out to vote as possible.
I just like to point out, Trump is doing Madison Square Garden. I don't see American Airlines Center here in Dallas.
Being occupied by Kamala?
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so either.
So,
all right.
She is doing one in Houston where she's going to talk about aborting kids. So that's going to be great. Because they are going after Ted Cruz, which is another big thing.
Yes.
That's the Senate is very close as well.
That's a worry. Yep. All right, Stu, thanks. There's a little hope there.
Yeah, no, I would be. Right. I'd rather be Trump. I'd rather be Trump right now.
More coming up.
Subscribe to Pat Gray Unleashed on Apple Music and Spotify. Pat Gray Unleashed.
All right, we went just a tad long with Stu. So coming up here in a minute, we've got so much more. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface of everything today. There's just so much to get to. And tomorrow is Free Think Friday. Don't forget. Right out of the gate, bam! We've got our weather experts that are going to talk about, can the weather be manipulated? Because we're told, it's so ridiculous. That's the dumbest thing ever. And yet, they've had the HARP project for over 30 years.
Thank you.
Trying to control the weather. And saying that they're about to be able to do it, or they have been able to do it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where to stand on that.
And then that picture that
that's why we're doing the show tomorrow.
Is from the Middle East. They're actually seeding clouds.
They're seeding clouds all over the place. Yeah, they are.
It's not something futuristic.
And everybody knows about the Chinese lasers in Hawaii and all that weird stuff. So we're going to get into that tomorrow. And if you don't like it, lump it. Okay? For the people on the left or you guys are conspiracy theorists. Shut up. We're just looking into it. Okay? There's nothing wrong with In fact, it's absolutely preferable to look into things if you think there's anything to it, and there could be. Who knows? But also, I want to tell you about something really sad that happened. Pathead Laura lost her husband just recently, and so a bunch of Patheads got together, and they put together a give, send, go because he was the breadwinner, and she's got no income, and so we've got it linked on our Twitter feed, right?
Yeah, so you could either go to givesendgo.com/PatHeadLaura.
Okay.
Or you could just go to @PatUnleashed on Twitter, and
just
we've
help
got
out if you
the
can.
link there that so many of you great Pat heads put together on Laura's behalf.
And thank you for doing that. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Laura as she just lost her husband 3 days ago. 888-900-3393. More Pat Gray Unleashed coming up.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.
You know, when we talked about the polls with Stu, he brought up the fact that Colin Allred is, seemingly doing fairly well here in Texas. It's a close race between he and Ted Cruz. I just saw another ad from Colin Allred yesterday where there's, I'm a nurse at a hospital, and Ted Cruz is dangerous to women.
Oh, no.
Is he? Really? He will be dangerous to women. It's such garbage. Another one says, what women in Texas are facing every day under Ted Cruz's abortion ban is unacceptable. By supporting an abortion ban that makes no exceptions for rape, incest, or the life of the mother, Ted Cruz has put women at risk. We touched on this in overtime yesterday, but it's worth repeating. 1% of abortions happen as a result of rape. 1%. 0.5%. So half of 1% happened because of incest. And 0.1%, 1/10 of 1% happened because a woman's life is endangered by the pregnancy. That's just so uncommon in this country in the year 2024. It hardly ever, it's not 1814. It hardly ever happens. But the other thing is, a danger to women? No, abortion is the danger to women. You're definitely killing half the population who would have been born women. They're born female, right? And they grow into women. So that's 50% that would be born and would be living if you stopped killing them before they were born. Which means last year alone, there would have been over 500,000 potential women who were killed by abortion. 500,000 females that would have grown into womanhood. It's so ridiculous. The insanity that is spilling out of the left on a regular basis. You talk about Hitler-like.
Oh, yeah.
This is a scourge on our country that has been going on in this fashion since 1973. And it's 64 million who have been murdered over that time period. 64 million babies. Worldwide, it's 1.1 billion. Okay. If that's not Hitler-like, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Help me out. Would that not be called a Holocaust if the left was pro-life? You know that's what they'd be calling it. And since they're not shying away from the Nazi propaganda nonsense, why should we? It's very Hitlerian that they want to kill babies. Sick of it. Just sick of it. Also, there was a Texas woman. Is this a Dallas? This was a Dallas
I don't know exactly.
School board or something?
No, I don't know what's going on
City
here.
council?
It's something with judges. So I couldn't quite figure out what the total context was. It's really irrelevant. Based on what she says, you can apply it to anything in this country.
Okay.
And so God bless this woman. This will fire you up.
She lowers the boom on politicians.
Audio? We need to start that over.
And I represent Reserve Your Rights, Texas. I am Demetria Smith, and I represent Reserve Your Rights, Texas.
Okay.
I didn't come here to beg, and I invoke each and every one and last one of you oaths today. Today, we stand here as we the people, and we have a social compact, and that is the United States Constitution for America. Each and every last one of you has an oath and a bond, and you owe the American people, the beneficiary to the Constitution, a performance. And that bond secures that performance. Each and every one of these people back here are the beneficiary. We have ordained and established this Constitution. We have established this justice system. Our founding fathers left it now up to us because now we are the descendants in the homeland. And today we do not come here to beg you to do anything. You have an oath, you have a constitutional duty to exactly examine each and every judge that have that oath. Since you want to be the institution that's in place of that, we expect you to perform your duties. Too often the judges have reversed the courts and they come up with this democracy. We are a republic, and we're a Republican form of government, where the people rule and not the government themselves. That is in also Texas Government Code 552.001. The people are the master. The government are the servants. With that being said, we come to demand you all to do your job, since you promised us a performance to do that job. Each judge across America, in the United States of America, have too often made the people a slave by misidentifying the people as vessels, as cargoes, as fictitious persons, as in lieges. We are the beneficiaries in this country. So today is not the day that anybody weep and cry anymore. Do your job and perform your abilities, because you have access to the public trust. You all are the trustees and we are the beneficiaries. And now that you have access to the public trust, you have the access to the people funds. The people are always performing. Now it's your turn to perform unto your constitutional oath and your bonds that secure it. We are all in contract with each and every last one of these judges, officials, and you too. I am Demetria Smith.
Yes, she is. Wow.
That's
Good
fun,
stuff.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I looked up.
There's an informed voter. How
Texas
about that?
Code
Love that.
552.001. I love this. This is under the Texas Constitution. Under the fundamental philosophy of the American constitutional form of representative government that adheres to the principle that government is the servant and not the master of the people, it is the policy of this state that each person is entitled, unless otherwise expressly provided by law, at all times to complete information about the affairs of government and the official acts of public officials and employees. There you go.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Smoke it.
Wow. I bet they couldn't wait to tell her, all right, ma'am, your time's up. Because that's what happens every single time.
Yeah, that's all they...
Okay, ma'am, move on. Your time's up. After getting a civics lesson like that, they should have been somewhat moved, but my guess is they weren't. Keep in mind, inner Dallas is just completely controlled by Democrats. Completely. So that was good to hear. A lecture to, maybe something that should have moved them, but no doubt didn't.
Yeah, I mean, you do say that, and you're accurate, that inner Dallas is completely controlled by Democrats. But I would like to point out that the Democrat mayor of Dallas a couple years ago switched to Republican, which was shocking.
Oh, yeah, that is.
So that is something there. He feels betrayed by his party. Well, congratulations. Yeah. America does too.
Exactly. Did you see that there's a new UN report? A UN report that reveals a staggering number of female athletes have lost medals to transgender competitors. From the United Nations? All right. The report states that as of March of this year, 2024, more than 600, so this is even before the Olympics, more than 600 female athletes have been pushed off of podiums in 29 sporting categories. Male athletes have specific attributes, they write in the report, considered advantageous in certain sports, such as strength and testosterone levels that are higher than those of the average range for females, even before puberty, thereby resulting in the loss of fair opportunity. As such, women have lost almost 900 medals to men who identify as women in over 400 competitions. The report was titled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports, and it was published by the UN Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports. Wow. In the document, Al Salam, the head investigator for this study, explained that various national federations and governing bodies have allowed males who identify as females to compete in female sports categories. And he went on to say, no matter what age at which the transgender males compete against females, inherent athletic advantages for trans competitors will persist. Quote, male athletes have specific attributes considered advantageous in certain sports, such as strength and testosterone levels higher than those of the average, thus resulting in the loss of fair opportunity. He also cited that during the Paris Games, female boxers had to compete against two boxers whose sex as females was seriously contested. Remember that. Yep. And the International Olympic Committee refused to carry out a sex screening on them. Wow. So this is from a UN report.
Wow.
This isn't from, some right-wing publication. It's from the United Nations. Jeez. A 1996 survey of female Olympians found that an overwhelming number supported sex tests. And they should, because it's completely unfair. Meanwhile, in Nevada, they just had a little issue with this, too, because apparently on the San Jose State women's volleyball team, they have a transgender man. And San Jose State was coming to Nevada to play them in volleyball. And the team at Nevada voted to not play him, which is what we've talked about a million times.
Yep.
That's what you're going to have to do. You're just going to have to refuse to play against men.
Yep. When your venues are empty on game day, then you'll see, oh, wait, maybe we should
revisit
make a change.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. So they were going to come to Nevada, and then Nevada was going to forfeit. But San Jose State said, if you're just going to forfeit anyway, you come here and you can forfeit to us in San Jose. So that's, I guess, up in the air as to where they're going to forfeit and all of that. But the fact is, the Nevada team voted not to participate in it. And again, that's exactly what it's going to take.
And then, of course, one of the young women on the team that had stood up to this, and I think signed a petition or something. Anyway, I know she was starting to get death threats, of course.
Of course.
Because she didn't want to play against a man.
Oh, my
And it's
gosh.
like, for real?
Incredible. Yeah, it's incredible.
Anyway.
What's it going to take? Yeah. I mean, people have already been seriously injured, including a volleyball player who got smashed in the face hard by a trans man that it caused her permanent damage. She had a head injury from it.
Yeah, and I don't think the one you're specifically referring to, I don't think is fully healed either.
No, she has permanent damage.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a...
It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
By the way, that female player, let's see here. So, there's a lot in this article here. She got a threatening message that said that her team needs to keep their distance from her. So let's see, female player. So this looks like the player was on San Jose State. A female player on San Jose State volleyball team received death threats after signing on to the Riley Gaines NCAA lawsuit. Interesting. The DM said that her team needed to keep their distance from her because something bad was going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. You can't share a country with these kinds of people.
Unbelievable.
You can't.
Wow.
It's gone from the definition of common sense is completely out the window. It's now that your life is threatened if you dare have common sense or your own belief about fill in the blank.
Yeah. That's not allowed anymore. Just not allowed. Speaking of which, are you aware that another Russian oligarch...
Oh, no, here we go.
Just fell out another window. They found him dead. He had fallen out of a window.
Can we ban windows in Russia?
That's what I'm saying. How many times do I have to warn these Russian oligarchs? Stay away from windows.
You've been on top of this.
These are the clumsiest people to ever walk the earth, and you should not be walking near windows. You're bound to fall out of one of them. Stay away from windows, oligarchs. This is like the 40th one, or I think it's more than that. So if you oppose Putin, they're going to toss you out a window somewhere at the first chance they get. So stay out of high rises for one thing. Maybe only, rent ranch type houses that only have the one floor.
Yeah.
Or, you go to a motel with only one floor so that when you do go out the window, it's not that far down.
So
I don't know. I'm concerned for your safety there. Something's got to be done.
I don't know what the updated total is, but I do see, a year ago that we were up to 38.
Okay.
Right? So.
Yes. Yes. And it's at least 3 more since then. I think it's 41. I think is the number now.
But you're right.
Incredible.
You've been at the forefront of this warning the Russian oligarchs. I mean, at this point, they kind of bring it on themselves if they're not going to heed the warnings of windows and tall buildings.
It's really true. I mean, how many times do you have to tell them?
How many times?
It shouldn't have to be this many times. Stay away from windows. It's just a good safety tip. If you don't believe me, check the ground, because there's probably another oligarch out there laying there right now.
I love this story because it says he was found dead by Putin's spies.
By Putin's spies?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. They found him?
They found him, yeah.
How did they know where to look?
It's such a... The Daily Mail, this says, a top Russian oligarch has been found dead by Putin's spies after mysteriously falling 110 feet from a window at his Moscow home.
Wait, hold on a second.
110 feet at his home?
All right.
Yes.
These oligarchs.
Cow.
I mean, that just sounds like you're getting your comeuppance for being successful.
It must be like a penthouse suite or something. Maybe it's, I don't know. 110 feet. That's like 11 stories. That's a
big
long
house.
way up. Yeah, that's a big house.
You know what that is? That's that Paul Pelosi house.
Oh, yeah.
Where you just
keep going and going.
That's
the stairs never
stop.
stop.
This is what it sounds like inside a Russian oligarch's house.
Yeah, you got to hike. So hopefully you're in shape.
Look, I'm not living in an 11-story house unless I have an elevator. That's just my standard.
You and me both, my friend. Or an escalator be okay. But I'm not doing this.
Sure. Okay.
I'm not walking up all the... That's 11 stories. No, thank you.
I'm exhausted by the time I get up there.
I'm already exhausted just listening to him do it.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly Certainly not physically walking up those
Has he
stairs.
not made it up 11 stories yet?
Not yet. It's a hike. I'm telling you.
Holy crap.
In fact, we're going to let him keep going. Just go ahead and turn him down there. Yeah. But he's still on his way. Just know that.
Okay.
Still on his way.
Still on his way.
Also, when it comes to the election, back to the election, because it's only 12 days away now.
Yeah.
Maricopa County is warning about the results of the election. This is good. So if you live in the Phoenix area, just know this.
If you're going to vote on election day, vote in person and use that on-site tabulator so that those votes will be tabulated on that evening as opposed to dropping off your early ballot on election day.
The county adding more high-speed tabulators, more election workers.
We're increasing staffing at our ballot processing as well because, again, we're handling double the number of the sheets of paper. And so we are looking to both have extra shifts, night shifts, if necessary, in ballot processing, and then in the next step that takes place in election administration, and that's through tabulation.
But tabulation expected to take time.
We do expect that it will take between 10 and 13 days to
get out of here. Get out of my face. It'll take between 10 and 13 days.
But they got extra people working on it, Pat. I mean, it doesn't take a month. It only takes up to 2 weeks. So what do you want?
It could be worse.
Could be worse. Thank you, Chris.
Could it, though? I don't know.
They think you are
Oh, my gosh.
stupid.
That is unreal.
Oh,
How is that possible?
Oh, it's not.
And they're announcing it beforehand so you won't get pissed that night. Well, we told you this. We told you it was going to take between 10 and 13 days.
Man.
Unacceptable, man. That is unacceptable.
Yeah, well,
we need to go back to the 1700s where you knew the night of.
Yep.
And you counted it by hand, and they were all paper ballots.
1700s. It was just
man.
few cycles ago when it was by paper and by hand.
It's true.
But I mean, that sounds like a pipe dream. It's certainly nobody could pull that off today.
No.
Like, you know.
Way too difficult today. Because all we have are computers today.
Right.
What are they supposed to count votes?
Wait, what's this? What's this, Joe? What's the next thing you're playing out of Taiwan?
We're at a polling station here in New Taipei City where the polls have closed and the votes are being counted as we speak. The interesting thing about elections here in Taiwan is that there's no absentee voting, so everything is done in person. You can literally see people there where the votes are being put on paper. There's volunteers inside now reciting what those votes are. And the other volunteers are tallying up those votes right now on that whiteboard. Now, you got to wonder why they do this, right? Well, it's fair, it's safe, and it does protect Taiwan from any sort of interference from China or other players out there. It is an old school way, and certainly maybe not as efficient as some other economies out there.
So does it take 2 years?
But certainly, it's a way that has worked election after election.
What? No.
We've been told we can't go inside and talk because of all that's going on in there, but here's a sneak peek.
Well, sneak peek.
Okay. Here's a sneak peek of.
She's gonna stand in there for 2 years trying to get these results from them.
Everybody's speaking gibberish. That's why.
Oh, that's why
she wasn't gonna go in at first.
That's confusing.
It is. Well, yeah, that's very confusing when.
Wait, I only see.
You don't know what they're saying.
I only see paper and a whiteboard. How could they possibly?
So has she said how long it's going to take to get the results?
6 hours, Pat. 6 hours till they get results.
6 hours.
We are a stupid ass country, and we allow them to do this to us every damn cycle.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. You know, there's a silent threat. There's a silent health threat that affects 1 in 3 Americans. It's an overworked and sluggish liver. You don't want that. It affects your weight, your energy levels, your clear thinking, productivity. It can even affect your sleep. And it also could lead to heart problems. Our livers are bombarded every day with GMOs and microplastics and all kinds of toxins that you don't even suspect these things would be attacking your liver. So if you or your husband, your brother, your friend feels sluggish, drained, you can't seem to get rid of those extra few pounds, let me recommend trying the Liver Health Formula and see for yourself the benefits. It's a premium supplement designed with 11 clinically proven botanicals to support and detoxify your liver, and it just helps you feel revitalized and ready to conquer every single day. This company's already helped more than 2 million people. For example, here's what their customer Stephanie had to say. In February 2022, I found out I had liver issues, so I researched and started taking liver health formula. 6 months later, my doctor was amazed. I'd lost 20 pounds, my liver is healthier, and I cut sugar and carbs out. These supplements definitely helped. Of course, your results aren't necessarily typical, and yours may vary, but there's an exclusive deal for my listeners for you to try this out. As a special offer, you'll receive 1 month's supply of nano-powered omega-3s free with your order. So try Liver Health Formula by going to getliverhelp.com/Pat. Claim your free bonus gift. That's getliverhelp.com/Pat. All right. We've got overtime coming up today, and there's some fun stuff that we're going to share with you. Of course, Kamala Harris is talking to Latino voters, and she's not pandering at all. But she's promising amnesty for them. That's great. I'm not sure that Latino voters want illegals to have amnesty. They did it the right way. They expect others to do the same. But that and so much more coming up on Overtime. And then we'll see you back here to finish off the week. We got the weather manipulation guys.
This is Pat Gray
tomorrow.
Unleashed.